I saw Cornel West on television. He said the racial problem in America is very bad. It's terrible. And he said the proper response to that is to seek love and justice, not hatred and revenge. That's a difficult path to find, much less traverse. Some things coincide in a way that stimulates me to reflect on something more than I would ordinarily. It's like getting bopped on the head by a foam rubber hammer. The second time gets your attention. I read an essay written by a man in the year 1941. He was staying in a cottage on the Florida Keys, and there were a few things that were troubling him. One certainly was the distraught condition of the world. Another, much more specific distress was that there he was in Florida, a leading producer of oranges, and he was not able to get an orange that did not have a tag attached that read, "Color added." This really bothered him, that the marketplace would consider a natural orange so deficient that they all had to be injected with an orange dye. He knew for certain that if a shopper ever did encounter a natural orange, they would wonder what was wrong with it, and they would never buy it. The other trouble he found was in two movie theaters in a town connected to his key by a bridge. One of the theaters allowed colored people to sit in the balcony. The other theater did not permit admission to colored people anywhere on the premises, except, perhaps, I'll hazard a guess, to clean the floor after a show. The writer of the essay was in one of these movie theaters, and the operator screened a short film of a patriotic nature, complete with the American flag bravely flapping in the wind, and a sonorous voice intoning the words, "One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all," at which everyone in the audience began to cheer and applaud. The writer of the essay did not join in the celebration. He was struck by the contradiction of living in a nation offering liberty and justice for all, while at the same time he was in a Jim Crow theater from which Negroes, which they were known at that time, were excluded. He wanted to stand up and ask why, in this free country, Negroes could not enter this building, and didn't anyone else see something very wrong with that? But he remained seated and silent, because he was not the kind of person who makes public displays, even when simple human decency called out for them. And he also had no desire to make himself a target who, far from being admired for voicing his thoughts, would be asked to please leave the building and not come back. Southern manners, Southern hospitality can have their basic requirements. The author, using the interior capacity of his imagination, thought about one day having Negroes enter the theater with him and sit with him as he was carrying a sign that read, "Color added." Following that silent and ineffective protest, I watched a movie, Django Unchained, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. This story, in its response to racism, was at the extreme opposite end of the spectrum from the man alone with his thoughts in the movie theater. Tarantino makes movies that are like cartoons or comic books. They have an operatic, sexual rhythm to them. There are scenes of prolonged foreplay as tension builds and the scorpions circle each other, and then a hideous purgative climax, hyper-violent, blood spurting all over, a scene of great carnage. Tarantino likes to use the word nigger as much as he likes to make blood spurt, and this movie allowed him liberal opportunity. The story provides a close-up look at a population, the whites, treating an entire other population, the coloreds, like niggers, allowing them to be shot dead, whipped, torn apart by dogs, beaten to death by a hammer, and not a foam one, or shut up in a steel hotbox under a punishing sun for trying to run away, intimidating them at every turn and estimating them to be nothing more than animals. And history would say that this is not fiction. It's more in the mode of a documentary. Jamie Foxx is terrific as the lead character, but it's quite sad from Colonel West's perspective that he has been so badly abused by the dominant system that all he can do in response is seek revenge through murder and destruction. The two characters in the story that attracted me the most were the former dentist turned bounty hunter, Dr. King Schultz. He's a killer too, but he does it for money, and he's offended by meanness, racism, and torture. For a murderer, he's quite a gentleman, and a true friend and benefactor. He causes his own death when he can't allow the preening plantation owner to force him to shake hands, to seal a deal. The other character of interest is Samuel L. Jackson's Stephen, a wily black attendant upon the plantation owner, like an advisor to the king in many a Shakespeare play. Stephen is allowed to participate in the good life by completely, willingly, and cheerfully abandoning his people, content to exist at the mercy of the plantation lord. Both of these parts are fully realized and very well played.